My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and that was finals week, leading into finals
week.
It's just
finals 3 days.
2 days.
2 days.
So it's finals week. Finals week of 3 days, leading into finals of 2 days. Between all of them, we get a week, so it's finals week part A. Okay.
Yes.
Finals week part A, everybody. That's what we're going to go with.
Like if you went to a high school that had a 2-week roster, or like what's it called 2-week
rotational timetable. Yeah,
timetable. That's the word. I, being me, would always forget what week it was, and I'm really thankful that our school had signs that they changed so you knew what week it was.
I did once walk into a classroom, start teaching the class, and 3/4 of the way through the lesson realise I was teaching the wrong thing. Funny point. Yes. They didn't notice.
Of course not. They trusted
I was supposed to be doing history. I was teaching them geography. They didn't notice. They didn't realise it, and at the end I managed to segue it and make it sound like, and that's why we need history. And they went, oh, that's a great lesson, sir. And I walked into the staff room, looked around and went, I just taught the completely wrong subject for a whole period, and no one picked it up.
Was it to the right class, though?
That was my class.
Yeah.
But I had 2 classes in the same year group. One was history, one was geo.
Oh.
And it's a rotational timetable.
Oh, God.
And I taught the wrong thing.
Oh.
And it was very early in the year, so I had a lot of kids who doubled up. So it was weird. Anyway, so now that we've sidetracked the whole episode in the first 30 seconds, let's go back to...
Back at the ranch.
A week where we lost 2 individuals. Australia lost its heart twice.
3 times. Let's not forget, sweetheart, the first loss we experienced last Wednesday.
Mm. Oh, we do need to talk about that. I was going to talk about that. I was thinking of leaving that to the end, but I think we might start with it.
Start with it, because,
all right, so we'll start with that and get that out of the way, because, there's a lot of sadness in this episode, so we need to,
let's
start
just really start.
The really,
Let's just punch your low,
Dear Australia,
leave your high.
Dear Australia, you want us to tug at your heartstrings. Well, I mentioned it on Instagram and on Twitter last Wednesday. So on Wednesday, beloved extra correspondent for the Washing Up Podcast.
Yeah. Unsolicited comments.
And the greatest interviewer in the history of the show.
Yeah, and saviour.
For his work in Canada, getting us out of prison. Leonidas, our beloved dog, unfortunately passed away on Wednesday.
Yeah, he was 11 and a bit years old. So,
for a Ridgeback, that's old. That's really old. That's ancient man territory. Forget old man territory. That's ancient man territory.
Yeah.
But he passed away on Wednesday.
We're thankful to everyone who reached out. And,
a lot of people sent us messages.
Saying how much they loved him as well, which was really sweet.
A lot of people talking about the fact that they really enjoyed his insights, and as I said, quite often it was the most insightful thing said on the podcast. So
salient points abounded when Leo was barking.
Indeed. So obviously, it's a sad day, and it was a sad loss. I might have gone and picked him up today for burial. He weighed just as much today.
See, at least that we had him cremated.
Cremated.
Look, and pick up the body.
There were 2 moments of brevity, and I know it sounds weird to start with talking about a dog dying, but there were 2 moments in the whole thing that, and Leo would have appreciated them. One, I had him at the vet, and he really wasn't well, and he wasn't really with it, and didn't really know where he was, and it was very sudden. It was really rapid. And while I'm at the vet, Leo had this really bad habit of farting. Toxic farts.
Yeah.
And he passed gas in the waiting room at the vet. And all I heard was, and I looked, and he was like staring into the middle distance, but then he turned around and there was this one brief spark of like a look like, that was me. I did that. And I'm like, yeah, you did. And then
he's a big fan of fart jokes.
And then when we took him in the vet,
like his mum. And
then obviously we took him in, and the vet said not much we can do. So obviously we had that happen. And then afterwards, I'm talking to the vet before I leave, and she looks at me and she looks down and goes, "So are you taking him with you?" This is a 6 foot when standing on his hind legs, Ridgeback. He's taller than me when standing on his hind legs. And I just looked at her and I said, how am I supposed to pick him up? And her response was, I figured that would be your answer, but, I've got to ask the question. So I just had this image of the poor people waiting outside with their pets to come in and get treated.
Yeah.
And I walk out with, like, a Ridgeback over my shoulder.
Just a dead Ridgeback going, well, they're not very good here. Service is pretty
Don't know what
shit.
happened. So
It was perfectly fine when I walked in.
So, but no, look, it's
Just dead parrots.
dead parrots. It's pining for the fields.
Oh.
But the thing
we
is,
have very dark sense of humour.
but here's the thing: like Leo had an awesome life, and
He did.
He lived it to the fullest. He watched large. Well, probably the biggest disappointment for him is he's not going to get to work out who won because he watched large episodes.
Dogs Go to Heaven. I saw the movie.
Okay, he's in a farm now. But no, Leo won't get to see obviously who won MasterChef. He was watching too. He was really invested.
Into it.
He was invested. So
big fan of Emelia.
Yeah.
I just feel he felt.
He liked Emelia. He liked Laura. He liked Callum a lot, and he really liked Reese.
Yes, he was here for Reese, and
He really liked Reese.
yeah.
So
And
obviously,
he was a big fan of the pictures of the great big slabs of meat.
oh, those
in the
were his
background.
favourites.
He was like, oh.
So obviously, thank you very much again to everyone who's reached out. Really do appreciate it. And again, it's been, as with so many things this year, it's been a week.
2020 is a fucking bitch, and it didn't get any better this week when we lost Reese.
So we did. We
Out
lost,
of the gates.
So
Okay, Sunday first, then we lost Reese.
no, we lost Reese on Sunday.
Oh, we did. Oh, see,
This is why I'm here to keep the
Yes,
order.
thank you, because I think it's just because it's such a painful memory.
We're going to be jumping all over the place, in
Yeah.
all honesty, because to start with,
Yes, it was an elimination. Okay.
tonight's episode was not much of anything, to be honest with you. It wasn't bad, it wasn't good.
It served a purpose.
It was there to get us to where we need to be. So let's start, obviously. Reese goes home.
That's right.
There's a few things we need to talk about with the episode. So the idea was the service challenge.
Yep, cool. I was happy with that.
Right, so the service challenge was fine, and now they had to draw out what they were cooking.
Which is a bunch of bullshit, and I know people can say, oh, you could overthink it, blah, 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 but the two people in the middle who've got the second course and the third course, I think have the sweet spot, and I'm not cool with that. I think everyone should have had an even playing field, like Reese.
So this is where I want to go with. So to explain what we're talking about, they all drew at once. Mm-hmm. Right, but then it was clear that they said that the vegetable course was going first, and then they were going through in the order. So here's the problem. The problem with this is, and this is something that everyone said, well, you had time if you were second, third, or fourth to sit there and think about what you were going to do and work out the different techniques and work it all out. Reese had to start and went straight in. Didn't get planning, didn't get all the other time that everyone else had. And as you said, people could overthink it. But more often than not, if you get that time, you can plan something out and work out what you were going to do. Reese had to adjust it all on the fly, and he did adjust it all on the fly, and we will talk about why he adjusted in a minute. But what they need to do with these service challenges, and they do it every time, and I would hope by now they'd worked it out. There's a couple of themes that are going to be common here. This is the first one. Mm-hmm. When you do this, you only need to draw the first person.
Yep.
You didn't need to draw the other three courses, right? So Reese draws first, Reese goes. Fantastic. All right? Okay, good. We're up for the time of the second course now.
Yep.
Draw.
This is how you do it. You have 4 bags, right? And
Number them.
Number them, 1, 2, 3, 4. And each bag, it's got the name of the course in it. If you pull out the ball with the name of the course...
You get it.
You get it.
Yeah.
And the other 3 are just blank.
Yeah.
And then you do it. There's 2, you do it for 3.
You do it that way.
4.
Yeah, so one has the name of the course and the others have nothing on them.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it, right? That's a really good way to do it. So,
And perhaps then you might be cooking a dessert as 4th, but if you don't tell them that...
But if you've got a specific ingredient you have to use...
Yeah, and they've done that before.
Which they did.
They've done that before.
Yeah, but that was the thing. Because they had a specific ingredient, that changes the whole thing. You could think it's a dessert course, but it may not be a dessert course.
Yep,
They may not be doing a dessert.
A cheese course.
I mean, to be fair, then if that was the case, then you'd cheese. But...
Yeah, but what kind of cheese, You
have to make a cracker to go with it. So, look, I think that...
Whack out some salami to go with your cheese.
I think that the biggest issue there was
the quince paste.
I think the biggest issue there was...
Good board. Good cheese board.
The biggest issue there, I think, was that the way they did the drawing.
I also like figs on a cheese board. That's just nice.
The way that they drew it out was the biggest problem there. Secondly, as a couple of people pointed out on Twitter at the time, the biggest disappointment was, on one hand, Reese was thrilled because obviously, being mostly vegetable based in terms of his food, he was thrilled to get that. But as a couple of people pointed out to us, it's nothing like what Simon would have done had he got it, especially with cauliflower.
But that said, Reese, I think Reese's passion lies in baking, and that's come across this season. He hasn't done a lot of, when he's had the choice of and more control over what he's cooking, he hasn't really done the whole, I'm going to make a vegan dish. Which, I guess, sometimes you don't want to be known as the vegan guy. You might become...
they try to.
Yeah. And that's fair enough. But it just showed in this particular thing that he was excited to do it, but he hadn't had, I guess... It was his kind of first time delving into it. Yeah. In this sitch.
So, we also had...
And not first time delving into it. He's done it before, obviously.
Yeah, but in this sort of high pressure situation. Yeah. So, obviously, we also then had... Everyone starts talking strategy in the Who's Left. And what I loved was all these people getting very complicated. And Emelia just goes, my strategy is flavour.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's a good strategy. If I was going to pick a strategy, I would go with... flavour. That's the one I would ride as far as I could.
Yeah, because once you get the flavour right, you've just got to cook that fish right and you're good to go.
Now, leading to our second problem of the week, there's been a theme, there's been a couple of things.
This week is just
not
hit the mark, and it's been disappointing because these are the top 5, top 4 and then now top 3.
So we had a situation where in the last couple of weeks they've been getting on their nerves and getting on their cases about trying things when there's an elimination cook-on.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? You're up for elimination. Why would you try something that you've never done before? Tonight, well, not tonight, but on Sunday night, you need to do something different. Reese, look, we know that you know that.
And is that a safe choice?
Well, yes, but no, that was part of it. But part of it was the way that they did it was to sort of insist, throw something else in there, go on a limb, which is why Reese added the lemon myrtle, which was the thing that fucked him.
Look, something I noticed, I'm going to pull back the fourth wall here, is this is coronavirus central, right? Or it is now, but they didn't know that back then. Ooh, foreboding. Everyone's been living in that COVID-19 lockdown kind of bullshit. Now, I noticed that Jock was carrying around prayer beads.
Yeah.
And it's a move I think George and Gary had pulled out last year, if memory serves me correct. It can be used for anxiety, can be used, to help remind you to calm your mind and that kind of thing. And we all know Jock's under a lot of fucking pressure. Remember, pregnant wife, stuck out of state, it's pretty shit house. So he is obviously not on the correct mindset at the moment. Not correct, but he's having some struggles. He appears to be in a bit of struggle at the moment, and that's completely fair enough. And all of us, including myself, have our own mental health issues that we work with. And when I'm grateful I'm not on TV, being judged on this. But then you have Andy, and they're just so negative, and it just doesn't feel like it's Andy. It feels like he's being fed this bullshit.
Andy's had a really bad week, I think. A really bad week. And this is... Okay, so here's the difference, okay? A lot of people have tried to talk favouritism narratives again. Look, you can get away with the favouritism stuff early in the competition. There is a way to get away with it. At the end of the competition, though, whatever is going to be will be.
Yeah.
Right? So... in terms of that narrative and what we're talking about with that narrative idea, here's the difference, okay? When they sent Jock and Andy up to Reese, they went negative.
Did they just?
They went negative. They talked about the too safe idea. They talked about how bad safe would be. You're playing it safe. Is safe what you want to be doing? Melissa went to Laura. Mm-hmm. Now, what Melissa did is what Melissa does. And she's obviously, first of all, and not to say that they're bad with words, because they're genuinely not. As much as we make fun of Andy, they're not bad with words.
No.
But Melissa and her use of language is just on another level. And Melissa went up to talk to Laura. And rather than say that dish that you're doing, which was her reimagined roast.
Yeah, which is a classic flavour profile.
Rather than say...
lamb and peas.
Rather than say... it's too basic. What she said to her instead was, how are you going to boost the flavour? What's the way you're going to take this dish and just boost that flavour up into a place where it's something new and something different?
Yeah, because let's not forget that Callum, I believe it was the week before, made the classical chicken liver...
yes.
I don't want to say pate. Chicken liver...
Yeah, parfait, yeah.
Parfait, right? Which... dime a dozen. I mean, I presume a good one's a good one. I like a good parfait. I like a good liver pate as well. Anyway, so he's done something classic and made it really, really well, and that's been lauded. Yet, suddenly a week later, Reese is coming in with some classic flavours, and they're asking him, how are you going to... And perhaps their expectations were quite high, thinking, we're going to get something from the vegan. Now, just because you're vegan doesn't mean you're a good vegan cook. Vegan cooking can be quite tricky to get right. So,
So the thing was that it's about the way that they talk to them.
Technically, French fries are vegan,
Technically. But it's about the way they talk to them. It's about the way they address them. And it's about the way they have those conversations. And... Melissa is just better at having those conversations than the boys seem to be this week.
Yeah.
And the other thing is too, and again, this is something we've picked up, and a few other people on Twitter have picked it up as well. It's really obvious when Melissa is saying something that's been fed that she doesn't necessarily agree with. You can pick that up from a mile away. Because it varies so greatly from the way that she has her conversations.
Yeah.
But I think it was really interesting the way that they tried to approach it, the way they tried to create the narrative. Things like, the cloudy broth. Is
will
Laura's,
this raft work?
Is Laura's broth Amelia's broth going to be clear, or is it going to be cloudy? If it's cloudy, well, that could put her through to elimination. But if it's clear, well, then amazing. And a bunch of people were tweeting out, I like a cloudy broth, especially one that's quite good. And in the end, it didn't matter. No. It was slightly cloudy, but it tasted amazing, and it didn't matter that it was cloudy. So it was a whole pressure point build up for the episode with zero payoff.
It seems to me that trying to look for a story in the negative rather than the positive, to create tension and drama, it's really painful to watch because it's so contrived. And look, we're not going into reality television thinking, this is exactly the way it played out. We know that there is storytelling. We know that there is affectations made in order to drive the show. It has to do that. But when it errs on the side of disingenuous rather than a slightly exaggerated or slightly modified version of events, it gets really fucking cringeworthy. All this week we've had Andy and Jock, and particularly Andy, going up to benches, particularly Callum's bench and particularly Laura's bench, and just hammering them. It's always, Callum, can you do that flavour profile really well? I don't know about that. Whereas other people are, doing some different flavours and whatever, and it's not been an issue. And yes, Callum might have struggled a bit with it, but we don't need that bullshit.
So, no, we don't. So... there are a couple of other things that were a bit more lighthearted. We'll
get to them.
We will. For example, have you ever seen more Davidson plums in your life?
No.
Obviously Thursday night was the start. Tuesday night was the start of it.
Yeah.
Tuesday was the start of the Davidson plum thing. Obviously they still had some left over. Mm-hmm. And so Callum used the Davidson plum. Yep. Davidson plums, obviously, check at Coles.
I presume they're there with the scampi.
Liquid nitrogen.
Yes.
There's a bunch of things that apparently are at Coles, although we'll come to that tonight when we talk about the fancy pantry.
Yeah.
Now, it was there were a couple of things that I thought were a bit weird as well. Andy at one point, so they had everybody come in, all of the guest chefs they had came in.
Oh, it was great. We had Kristen Tibbles. We saw Joe Bennett there.
So Kirsten Tibbles was in there. Kirsten Tibbles, Joe Bennett, Darren Purchase, Matt Stone with an interesting haircut.
Yes, and his sister.
So, but...
Am I imagining things?
Yeah, you're imagining things.
Oh, my God. I swear blind there was a third woman there.
So, anyway, so...
It's just Kristie just making things up.
She's just picking people out.
Seeing ghosts. I'm seeing dead people. I've been close to the dead this week with the loss of our puppy, and I'm just like, I'm like John Edwards.
No, please don't be like John Edwards.
But we'll make a fuck ton of money, and all I have to go out and do is like just go, I'm just sensing someone beginning with an L. My husband's name was Max. An M, M.
So, L, Max, letter near L, M, Max, there it is.
Yeah.
I'm sensing he was a person who had fingers. He was armless originally, but then they fell off.
He was born without arms.
In the womb. I can see he's been reunited with his arms that have been missing.
They'd be baby size though. Like he would be a grown man with baby arms.
Can I point out
those hands would still be bigger than Trump's.
Can I point out, by the way, the largest problem that you have with this John Edwards scenario is baby arms, human torso.
Yeah. Come on, it's got to be realistic.
So
you don't make the money.
I'm sensing someone in here has experienced death. Has anyone in this room experienced death? Yes? Oh, you all have. Okay, God, this is going to take a while.
Look, don't get me wrong.
A vow in the name.
I've been to a really good medium, and he got all my grandparents absolutely correct. So
did he say they were older than you?
No, he told me exactly what they died of. It was fantastic.
Was it cholera?
I mean, they died.
Typhoid?
Most of them died in the early 90s, late 80s.
Was it Men Without Hats? Was it dancing to Men Without Hats? Did they not do the safety dance properly?
Yeah, they
did. They not
unsafe.
Did they not put their vests on?
Fucking hell.
Hang on, late 80s, early 90s? Are you sure it wasn't typhoid? Anyway, moving on, because as Chester the Chicken would say, nobody likes our banter.
No.
So, Andy came back after having a conversation with the judges. Their standards are higher than I expected. That possibly says more about Andy than it does about anybody else judging the competition.
This is what makes me suspect. Who was it that we served up? They served everyone bloody something else, and they served up Andy some nuggets and chips.
Oh, we'll come back here. The kids' meal.
The kids' meal.
We'll come back to that. It was last night. We'll come back to that. So then we got... Jock decided to go over and do his making people, question their existence. And he picked Laura.
Yeah.
And I absolutely adored the way Laura handled it.
Yeah.
We got Laura and Emelia this week both handling this shit beautifully.
Yeah.
So Laura, first of all, turned around to Jock and said, look, I'm on the edge of this. If I keep going with this, I'm going to lose it, right? I can't afford to lose it, Jock. So I'm not entertaining any of the conversations you want to have right now. Basically, Laura turned around to Jock when he started on the mind game stuff and went, fuck off, I'm busy. Like, I'm fucking cooking, go away.
And this is what I feel undermines this whole week is there's obviously a need for storytelling that is overriding the actual celebration of these people who have not only put in the hard fucking weeks to get to this point, but are enduring a fucking lockdown pandemic, do not have any of what limited supports they would actually have in the normal circumstances. Like, there's probably a chance that they could have flown home to see family and friends, or had family friends fly over and come and see them, or to be able to get out to a cafe or to go for a swim, get to the gym, etc., etc. They're not living with any of that, and they're living in a situation that is quite stressful, on top of being on MasterChef.
To keep with our 80s theme, they're living in a box. But like what Laura said was...
they're living on a prayer.
You've just combined two songs beautifully.
Yeah.
Living on a Prayer and Living on the Edge by Aerosmith. That's amazing. That's a mashup of epic proportions.
That's so much hair and hairspray.
Fucking hell.
And silver jewellery and leather.
Do you know Aerosmith had their own range of shoes? They did. I know this. I had some.
I was going to say, how do you know? And there we go.
I know this because I had some.
I'm so glad you just collect Converse now.
Yeah.
Instead of just like 80s band shoes. What are they? They're my New Kids on the Block pumps.
So they had...
Oh, the right heel.
They had a branded shoe in the 80s. I mean, there was also a rip-off version. I suspect I had rip-off Aerosmith shoes.
Smero-if.
But there were Aerosmith shoes in the 1980s. It was hilarious. They obviously they did some work with Run DMC and obviously went, there's an idea, but didn't get into the Adidas. Anyway, Laura's quote the other day was, I can't have negativity, otherwise I'll crumble. That was what she said, which was honest.
And good on you for setting boundaries, Laura, because women don't often do that.
No.
Good on you.
And we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment too with Emelia, who I did say to everyone at the end of the episode tonight, while you're waiting for the podcast, go and read the interview that Emelia did with, I think it's Pop Sugar.
Yeah.
Really good interview about women and links back into, and we'll talk a bit more depth later, but links back into a conversation we had with Elena earlier in the year.
Absolutely.
So let's quickly go through Reese's dessert first of all. So Reese's dish first of all, which was...
Dessert. He also called it a dessert.
He did. Beetroots. Mm-hmm. Which we'll come back to the drinking game shortly, but beetroots.
Yes.
Now, goat's cheese, chocolate hazelnut crumb, but again, he put in lemon myrtle, which I'd like to think, by the way, is going to be his drag name. Lemon myrtle.
What does it pronounce it? Myrtle.
It's myrtle. In Australia...
Myrtle.
In Australia, it's myrtle.
Myrtle.
So we need to stop saying myrtle.
Yes, we do.
So also in this one here, Emelia was doing...
Thinking right. If Harry Potter was set in Australia, you wouldn't have Moaning Myrtle. You'd have Whinging Wendy.
Moaning Myrtle?
Yeah. Shit-talking Sheila. Like it'd just be...
Moaning Mona.
Moaning Mona.
Just Craig McLaughlin and Check 1 2 behind. Hey, Moaning Mona. Ooh, Moaning Mona. That's all. Check 1. Look, by the way...
That's more Check 1 2 that's been played on some kind of audio device.
Than in years. Can I just point out, by the way, fuck the idea of Craig McLaughlin. I'm here for Check 1 2.
Whatever happened to Check 1 2? Did they ever get to 3 4?
No one checked. No one checked.
Go check on Check 1 2.
Because someone check on Check 1 2. It was like the other day when I talked to you about Indecent Obsession and the fact that I owned the cassette.
That's awesome.
So, again, them and Southern Sons. Wow.
Did I mention I actually saw David Dixon in a Technicolor Dreamcoat?
I was going to say, you saw him in Joseph?
Yes.
He toured that for years.
Yeah.
Even after it was done, he kept touring it.
Well, my mum worked in a bank where Her Majesty's Theatre used to bank. And when they were having low nights, like Tuesday nights, we'd get free tickets.
I think I was saying that David Dixon came and did the banking.
So I saw that particular show probably 3 or 4 times. Buddy Holly, I saw several times.
Oh, God.
And I developed a crush on, weird obsession with Buddy Holly, and like a 9-year-old crush.
Terrifying.
Strange, because he was dead. And if he was alive, it would be really wrong.
Anyway.
And 42nd Street, which made me want to learn tap dancing.
And that tap has been your passion to this day.
Yes.
So, by the way, on David Dixon, if you've never heard it, seen it before, if you go to YouTube, the clip of David Dixon in Indecent Obsession singing "Come Back to Me," his passionate ballad on "Hey Hey It's Saturday" is on YouTube. It's something else. I'm not saying good. I'm saying something else.
Yes.
I showed Kristie the other day because she'd never seen it.
Oh, God.
And the candles on the piano.
Oh, my God.
And the children's choir.
Oh, my God.
It's... They put production in, they normally say, for John Farnham, put it that way.
Yeah.
So back to Emelia. I loved when she presented her fish dish, which was her redemption dish. Can we fuck redemption dishes off,
Fuck
please?
redemption!
We're over it.
Forgive yourself and move on. It's just a fucking past cook.
Yeah, exactly.
None of us are caring about
Exactly.
it. I don't want to see your Benito again. You all seem to be fucking up fish, and you know what? Don't fucking care. We all fuck up some fish. Some of us can't even open a tuna can properly and then go without that on our toast for lunch. Just saying.
That was deep.
Not saying that was me. Okay, it was
Amelia
I pulled the ring tab off, and then we didn't have a can opener.
Anyway, Amelia went up for the judging, and Jock turned around to her and said, "You know, it was quite risky doing fish for you. What led you down this path?" and Twitter, as one, yelled, "You made me fucking draw it out of a bag at the start, you idiot."
No fucking idea, Jock. Purely a whim. I pulled out of a bag, pre-prepared by a production team.
I feel really bad, by the way, for Jock on this one. And the reason I feel bad for Jock on this one is quite clearly he's on autopilot with what made you go down. And he obviously was talking about the style of dish that she did. But the way that he said it and the fact that production didn't go, "Wait, Jock, we're going to redo that, clarify," or that someone in editing didn't just take the second part of that out and like fixed it up, left it in there. Yeah. Like there were some weird editing choices, and that was the weirdest.
Everyone's just like, fuck this. They can see the home stretch, they can see getting back to loved ones, and quite frankly, I would be gunning for that at the moment, you know. To me, I know they're all stuck in lockdown, but I wouldn't give a shit. I'd be like just focused on getting
and what home. We got, but what we,
I'd be like Milo and Otis. I'd be like Lassie. Just like nothing stopping me from getting home. Like no wild bears, no like logs that I'm on going down a stream towards a waterfall. Like I would get home. Like
anyway, what we got was really nice here because then they started talking to Amelia about what she was doing, and as a couple of people on Twitter pointed out, Amelia smashing down imposter syndrome one comment at a time.
Yep.
Because she just turns around and she goes, "I'm a good cook.
Yeah.
I know I've done well. I know I've nailed this. I know I have the skills. I know I have the ability.
Yeah.
And I know I've done a good job on this dish."
Absolutely.
There was no half-hearted, "Oh, maybe I'm okay and maybe I'm not."
Yeah.
It was a case of, "No, fuck this. I'm good."
And this is the kind of thing like young, you know, like Laura said tonight that she grew up watching Masterchef. And this is the kind of stuff that young women who are hoping to, you know, pursue a career in food need to see. Are strong, confident women. I don't even want to say strong. I just want to say women who assert themselves, set boundaries like Laura did, and basically go, "No, fuck it, I know what I'm doing," like Emelia did.
It was a case of it was a case of a female on television not letting that idea of you know having to prove yourself. She's like, "No, I'm not here because I need to prove myself. I'm proven. Like I know I'm good. I don't need vindication from you to tell me I'm good."
And particularly with some of the comments on Twitter tonight. Sorry, I know I'm jumping. We're going to jump 4 days in advance. But people going, "Oh, you know, they just want Reynold to win." And with Callum out of the competition, obviously Reynold's going to win. Excuse me, there are 2 other very strong contestants standing right there. Just because they have vaginas or identify as female does not mean they're any less than, you know, like, oh, the other person with a penis is gone. Oh, then obviously Reynold is going to win. Because we've never had a female winner in the fucking history of MasterChef. Julie Goodwin, Billy McKay, Diana Chan, Elena Duggan. Like, you know, do I have to keep coughing and saying women's names? No, I don't.
No, you don't.
But it just ticks me off.
I know.
We can do better, people.
So we will come back to Reese. We'll come back to Reese coming home in a minute because we haven't sent Reese home yet.
Poor Reese, yes.
In a minute. But just to sort of, off the back of that, Amelia, you know, obviously the next night goes through to, you know, is the first person through to finals week. But in her interview on Pop Sugar, and again, I recommend you just read it, but they asked her about the idea of celebrating victories and the fact about not celebrating victories as much as you might be tempted to. And Amelia said about that she thought that most women, unfortunately, not used to celebrating the victories the way they should. Never allowed to own our abilities and be proud of ourselves. It's something I'm actively trying to overcome. And
that's inspirational. I'm going to take that with me, Amelia. I feel you.
Yeah, and as I said, we'll talk a little bit more about it after we get to last night's episode.
Yeah.
But the idea we had, then we got the third dish up, and we had the steak.
Yes.
Laura's steak. And,
it was a lamb, wasn't it?
Yeah, the lamb, sorry. Was it lamb? No,
It was lamb and peas. Remember, it was a roast.
Right, roast, yes, right. Sorry, my bad.
Remember the thing that we never put with lamb?
But there was
she cooked with it. In fact, the thing that we never put with anything, because it's fucking the balls of the devil.
Exactly, and look, Laura...
The devil has a huge penis and tiny little pea balls.
And look, Laura, to be honest with you, I'm fine with your consistently making pasta early on. I'm fine with everything you've done in this series.
Yep.
But I fucking draw the line at your pea use.
Like, what the fuck, Laura?
Which has been non-stop.
You know, this almost makes me want to jump the boat onto the Laura hater boat, because you pull out the peas, and where would I to go with that, Laura? I can't defend
They're not
peas.
life preservers.
No.
Try to cling onto a tiny little pea in the water, you're going to fall down. Don't pee in the water. Never pee in the water. Anyway, they tried to come up with a complaint about her dish, and the best they came up with was Jock complained he didn't have a bone to gnaw on.
Oh, poor Jock. Oh, he just wanted a bone. Someone give that man a bone.
Moving on. Callum,
I said bone, not boner.
Callum was referred to as Mr. Strategy.
Oh, yes.
What is Mr. Strategy's superhero talent?
A fully formulated plan? Reconnaissance?
Reconnaissance?
Or is that Reconnaissance Man's superpower? And does Reconnaissance Man work with Strategy Man? Like, is this... What if it's Reconnaissance Woman? What if it's Reconnaissance non-binary person?
I personally would go with the Karo Khan defense in chess. I'd like to think that was his special talent. Whatever it was to almost put himself eliminated because they needed to build up the tension. But it was Reese. Yeah. And it was always going to be Reese because of the way the challenge was set
crumbled.
up. But what a couple of people pointed out, and they were 100% right with that, by the way, was that Jock spent all of his time pissing everyone else off, but then turned around to Callum and said, I won't annoy you, I'll leave you to it.
Now, something I do want to pick up, it is terrible to see Reese go, because I fucking adore watching him on TV. You know, he's just a lovely soul. A lot of people are like, oh, there goes the last gay. And I'm like, yeah, that is. And they're like, oh, there's no more diversity anymore. And I'm like, well, any one of the people left could actually be bi. It's just...
But even about that, it doesn't... that doesn't even matter. The bigger thing is, like, again, you've got two women. We've talked about the idea of the way that women, you know, how many times have women appeared in the grand final together?
Mm-hmm. Twice.
Only twice. The first season,
and then
season 7.
Yeah.
That's it. The only two
Billy
seasons.
and Georgina and Julie and Poe.
They're the only two times that two women have been in the final together. You've got Reynold. I mean, unless Reynold suddenly was, you know, from completely British stock. That's the last time I checked.
Ancestry.
We've had a long conversation about Reynolds' background and his parents coming out here and starting a new life. You know,
he's very firmly, you know, of an Indonesian cultural background.
We've had a very big, broad development, right? There's a huge array going on, and there's been a big array. And I would argue, and we've talked about this all the time, I think it's been a very diverse series, and I think it's been a highly representative series. But you also have to remember...
It's a competition.
People have to go home.
Yeah.
Right? At some point, people have to go home. It's a contest. And if you start just sending people home based on whatever background you want to see go home, then it's no longer a fair competition. So you've got to send people home, unfortunately.
I mean, the only way you could keep everyone there is to do it in a points scoreboard, but then you'd be keeping, like, people who are really shit still there for the sake of having them there.
Anyway, Gordon Ramsay.
Speaking of people who aren't shit.
Well, Gordon Ramsay.
Well, didn't he make good with his zooming?
So Gordon Ramsay comes back and he's like, I'm back. You know, you haven't heard the last of me. I've got a mystery box. And he opens up his fridge to reveal that he's clearly sponsored by Evian. To a lesser extent, Pimm's. And then, look, why did nobody go with what your idea would have been, which would have been a lovely Pimm's refresher?
Yeah. Just fuck the competition. Let's get drunk. Got nothing to lose. Make yourself a nice drink and relax.
They produced all of these ingredients out of Gordon's fridge, but then said you only have to use one.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed when they do that. It's just, look, if you want to make it challenging, 3. Okay?
Yeah.
3 ingredients must be used. They will use 3, but like mandating only 1?
This was very, this was, again, you could just tell this was not what was planned. It was quite flaccid in the shape of it. It was essentially cook what you want, but use something here.
And this is, look, I don't like when they do a cook what you want. I really don't like a cook what you want. And we've seen a few cook what you wants in the last week and a half. And everyone, people go, oh, but they're towards the grand final. You want them to do, no, you want
like structure. And look, at least it's give a bit of structure.
A little bit. So
I just thought it would be more hardcore because they went to all the trouble of putting a Union Jack on the top of, and if, at the very least I wanted to see Ginger Spice jump out. Just a Union Jack on the box. Make it more Union Jack on the box. Now, like, little Spice goes around, Ginger Spice goes around the weasel, she left the group, pop goes Jerry. What was I saying? Something along the lines of, should have been more.
Yeah, anyway, so
that's your response to a lot of what I go on about, chat.
Pretty much.
All right, Kristie.
Pretty much.
You just sit there and just maybe drink less.
So,
it is just mineral water, by the way.
Masterchef, we had another Masterchef out of context, the most perfect little tart you've ever seen. But it was a nice lead into what last night's episode was about, which was Emelia. And
really was the perfect little tart you've ever seen. And, and the compressed shoe was good too.
Yeah, exactly. So... let's talk about the fact that she did compressed shoe. Because she decided she was going to make a compressed shoe, which is the shoe made inside the mould, to try to hold it in place and make it form the shape that she wants. Now, as she said, she'd done it twice. Failed twice.
3 times a charm.
Both of them at the hotel.
Yeah.
That they're staying in. Now, Andy, of course, came over and needed to provide the positivity, and the positivity provider was, but what if it fails?
Way to keep up that positivity. I mean, you may as well start a podcast talking about your dead dog, Andy. Like, that's way to raise people's spirits. I think what I appreciated about last night is everyone chose to go out of their wheelhouse. Like, I enjoyed watching Reynold last night, and not a fucking dessert in sight. Thank the fucking gods. He chose to do something that I would have happily have eaten. Emelia, I was so excited for her. Just, balls to the walls. She wants to be in the semi-finals, and she fucking did it. Callum, he might have missed the mark, but he went, fuck it, I'm going to try this flavour profile. There's nothing to lose, except a guaranteed spot in the semi-final. But you had another chance to get that tonight. So.
Exactly. So I thought that last night was interesting because we had a really good cook from... We'll come to Emelia last because I want to leave that one.
Okay.
We had a really good cook from Reynold.
Yes. I was really happy watching him last night.
This is the thing that we said on Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is the thing we said on Tuesday night. And I just checked before, we had a couple of people, I made a comment on Twitter, people decided it was about Reynold and all started to go back in again. By the way, when I said that wasn't about Reynold, all of these tweets suddenly disappeared. It's amazing how that works. And it wasn't about Reynold. But last night, Reynold was really good. All right? We said that we have never doubted his skill. We've never doubted his ability. It was the doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again, whereas everyone else, the same thing. We said do the same thing over and over and over again. It's a problem. Reynold last night did something different.
Yep.
And it was good to watch.
Absolutely. He embraced that situation, and I wish we'd have seen more of this over the past weeks. Okay, play it safe, for an elimination, fair enough, that, do what you need to do to get through. But when you've had the choice to make something different or amazing to get immunity, Come on.
Yeah, and look, he even said, this is funny, because he even said last night what we said on Tuesday, where we said Reynold had made a point of talking about, I want to do more savoury to show how well-rounded I am. Yeah. And then last night he went back to it again and said, I've said all the way along I need to do more savoury. Yeah. I'm going to do savoury.
Good.
He did what we've been saying we wanted to see from him, and it was good.
Because we know when it comes to getting into the final 2 for MasterChef, you need to be well-rounded. You are going to be put through the ringer. You are going to be making something savoury, something sweet, and you can't have one more shit than the other. You know, you've got to be balanced, or at least be able to pull something out, have developed your skills. And it's also at this time of the competition that you really enjoy watching people who've gone into this experience to learn and immerse themselves. And yeah, that might be very selfish, because I can imagine it would take a lot of time and effort to actually do that. But when someone like Emelia goes, you know what, I'm giving this thing I tried out on the weekend a bill, you're like, holy shit, I've never seen anything like that before, and I'm here for it. Like, if I can get choux pastry in more different ways, I'm happy.
So what Reynold made was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was genuinely stunning. It looked really good. The broth looked really good. It looked delicious. Mm-hmm. Laura's, again, what Laura made in terms of her brim looked really nice too.
Yeah, and brassiarchus.
Yes, and which you weren't, because...
Brachius.
Yeah, you and green vegetables don't play nicely all the time. And you've now worked out there's a whole raft of those things that you're not going to play very well with you.
There's more that I don't agree with.
I thought that Callum was underrated last night. Mm. The reason why is Callum has spent a lot of time testing himself.
Yep.
Doing things. He did his bay leaf ice cream last night. He tried a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And I love seeing the fact that, like, when it got to this point of the competition, Callum just went, no, fuck this. I'm just going to do stuff because I don't want to win this competition doing safe thing. I want to do something out there. Yeah. I want to do stuff that's pushing me to the limits of what I can do. Yeah. I know this is possible. I need to do it. Mm-hmm. Right? I thought he was magnificent. Also, by the way, Laura's tip last night on the fish.
Yes, could have come in very handy
if Reynold had paid attention, he wouldn't have had a problem in his first challenge tonight.
Yeah.
Although, as we found out, it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
But we need to talk Emelia.
Yes.
We've been waiting.
Oh, my God.
That looked incredible. The judges, when they looked at it, couldn't hide. Like when Jock came running back going,
oh my God, you need to see this.
Wait till you see it. Wait till you see it. Hope it tastes good because it looks amazing.
Yeah.
The way that she put together that whole dish, it was absolutely superb.
And the flavour combinations as well, like the strawberry.
The balance was just so good.
And adding in the strawberry gum. I've never heard of strawberry gum. Here's Emelia going, here's my new favourite thing, strawberry gum.
Yeah, and that was the thing, she's like, I've discovered this. This is great.
Yeah.
Now, what I loved was when they announced that Emelia was the first contestant into the semi-final. I think she broke the record.
Yeah, and I think MasterChef have now used up all their swear words that they've been given to use over the series to still...
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. It was just non-stop. And I was here for it. Yes. 100%. I was totally here for it. Now, before we get to tonight's episode, and I know there are people going, oh my God, you're still going, because this is, you know...
Yeah.
But we need to talk about the drinking game.
Yes, we do.
Close up of the trophy. Yep.
Bingo.
Sphere/domes.
Well, we had a hollow... We had a ring.
No, it's not a sphere or a dome. Nope.
No.
Vespa. Yep.
Yep, that was a Vespa.
Beetroot. My God, we had a lot of beetroot.
Jesus Christ.
Fucking hell. Melissa makes the audience feel... Yeah, she kind of did tonight. She definitely did tonight. And her conversation the other day with Emelia, that was... Yeah. Hibachi. Yes. Ice cream. Yes. I'm close to my dream or goal. Reynold said that.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's it. The mystery room with the 10 new contestants. No.
And quite frankly, I was kind of like, oh, it could happen. You know, they might need to keep competing with Big Brother.
They're in the white room.
They're in the white room with black curtains near the station. But no 10 contestants. So we are actually in finals week.
All right, so let's get to tonight.
Hold on. How drastic do you think the the reaction would be if 10 new contestants walked in. You know, you had
To be honest with you, at this point
Aram and...
at this point of lockdown,
Yeah.
I suspect everyone would be fine with it because they're like, we need to watch something.
Yeah, but people in MasterChef itself, how fucking like mental do you think?
I'm reminded.
Like, Emelia would go. Do you reckon she would just start flipping over her bar
reminded
cheese
of the joy.
burning down?
I'm reminded of the short-lived but quite amazing Joyous sets with Ed Cavalier and Tony Martin,
Yeah.
where they did a joke bit with the block, where they had Scott Cam come out. These contestants here are all fighting for the block, and he walks around the corner along with these contestants,
Yes.
along with the. And every time he walked around another corner, there were more, and it ended up being about 400 people.
I was walking around the block.
They're all just standing looking at each other. This is the biggest block ever, including these people. And then your families. And they've all come running. It was just such a good joke. And I just so badly wanted everyone from MasterChef Past to come back and go, Gauntlet Cook. Gotta get past all of us if you want to win.
You just see Chloe strutting back in like, I'm going to show you an indigo plate.
Here's an indigo plate. All right, so tonight, the reason why we spent so much time on everything else is that tonight was not much of anything.
Yeah.
2 pantries. Mm-hmm. There was the normal pantry.
And the bougie pantry.
Well, that wasn't how they describe it.
Okay, extraordinary.
So, the extraordinary.
I'm just disappointed they didn't go for the natural pantry and the supernatural pantry.
It should have just been Aldi and Coles.
No, it should have been like normal, mundane ingredients, and then on the other side are cauldrons and like
witch's brews
gizzards and bat's eyes and
Eye of Newt.
And toads. And
So, all right, so let's get into it. So they had the 2 pantries.
ectoplasm,
Now, how did they divide these pantries up?
giant's thumbs. I got giant's toes. Sorry, I got a lot of those when I played Skyrim.
How did they divide the pantries up? I asked you a
I
question.
said they divide them into ordinary and extraordinary, but I have a bone to pick.
That's what I want to know about the
Okay.
ingredients. How did they do it?
Okay, so
Because I want you to work it out, because I can't.
So if we look at the vegetables, for example, right, I'm going to jump to the last cook. So if we look at the ordinary pantry, there were turnips, beetroots there. No, sorry. There was fennel. Fennel was in the ordinary pantry. And I thought, maybe shouldn't that be bougie? And in the extraordinary cupboard was beetroot and turnips. Now, all you Animal Crossing people are going to go, well, I told you so. On the right day, those turnips are worth a mozza. So fennel, you know how much that is a kilo? $2.50. Bargain, right? And I checked the Coles website, $2.50. Fresh beetroot, this is where it gets bougie. Double the price. Kilo of beetroot, $5. Now turnips, and again, all you Animal Crossing people are going to go, that's a pretty shit price. But in comparison, at $6 a kilo, those turnips are more expensive. So yes, it makes sense for beetroot and turnips to be on the luxe side rather than the ordinary side. However, according to the Sydney Fish Market, you know, who's the go-to, I guess.
Kristie did research, bitches.
I did a deep dive, and I'm fucking diving in, right? And this is what I found in my treasure trove. So, bonito, according to the Sydney Fish Market website, is from the family of mackerel. It's a medium price fish. Usually buy it whole, but you can ask your fishmonger to cut it up for you, to fillet it
that's
for
handy.
you. Same with the snapper.
Especially if you're Simon.
Yes, the snapper's from the brim family. It's a brim full of snapper on the 45. Okay, I'll get to my point. It's a medium to high price. So I do not know why the snapper, which is a medium to high price, is on the ordinary, where the bonito is on the extraordinary when it's only a medium price. So did they deliberately go out and try and find extremely ordinary snapper, which would have just made it like medium price snapper, which would have made it equal to bonito? But again, it doesn't make sense for the bonito to be an extraordinary unless the snapper is there.
Okay, so I think the answer to your question lies in the fact that it wasn't tuna, and clearly, therefore, it had been rejected by John West. And it's the fish that John West rejects that make John West the best. And so everything else is normal by comparison.
But no.
John West doesn't fish where bonito is.
The snapper is ordinary, But the bonito is extraordinary.
Because John West has never seen it before. Where is John West finding bonito? Right, that's the thing. For John West, it's a mythical creature.
Is this coming into some racism territory? Because bonito, everyone uses bonito flakes to make the dashi. So
no, it's a reference to Benito Mussolini.
It's a dictator's fish.
It's the dictator of fish.
It's going to what's it called?
It's the March on Rome. He's leading the March on Rome.
Didn't he leave an alliance? He committed, what's that word? And it means you double cross. Is it going to double cross you? Is that what he did? He was like, yeah, I'm with you.
He pretended he pretended to be negotiating a peace treaty with Hitler in good faith with the Allies, but Hitler gave him the terms.
Okay.
So yes, who knew that the other fascist was helping out the fascist? Anyway,
it's almost like fascism.
Not the Allies, that's for sure. Anyway, moving on. So look again, and as Kristie mentioned before, all of those of us who play Animal Crossing, we're just going the fucking turnips. Of course, they're Lux. I mean, it depends on what price you get them at Nook's Cranny. If Timmy and Tommy are giving you good prices for them, then they're very Lux. But if it's a Saturday afternoon and you're only getting 57 bells a turnip, then
not worth your time.
So
hold on to those turnips for later in the week.
Beetroot, I had a problem with. Right? And I don't give a shit about price scaling for this here.
Right.
They have used beetroot so often this series.
It's ordinary.
It's so ordinary.
It is beyond ordinary. It's banal.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
like they sent Reese home on Beat Train.
It's cliche.
Oh, it's cliche. It's been done.
Anyway, moving on.
Not even nice, let alone unique.
So we had Negative Andy for most of the night, including at one point.
Drunkle Andy's gone into a bit of negative. He's heading down the spiral. It's when you've drunk a little bit too much, you start getting a bit down on the world.
Reynolds doing his bonito, which he went home on last time.
So he had to do a redemption dish.
So he did a redemption dish, and Andy walks over there and he goes, "Reynold, I don't have to remind you," and then proceeds to remind him, which is a trick they did a lot this year.
I don't have to remind you, but I'm going to anyway.
I really want to. So at Kimber Hearts You had one of my favourite comments of the night, which was, say what you will about the hibachi, but when it comes to burning your food, it simply cannot be beaten. And Twitter exploded when Reynolds burned his first lot of fish on the hibachi with a simple, what the fuck is wrong with a pan?
Well, when we spoke to, I think it was Elena, we were talking about how fire is that, or was it Sarah Claire?
Yeah, they both said the same thing. Elena said that.
Fire gives you that extra level of smoke. So, of course, cooking on the hot coals is as close as you can get to it in the Masterchef kitchen. So that's why the hibachi is preferable. And quite frankly, I like things cooked over coals. It's more delicious.
Well, everything's cooked over coals technically in this series because they're a major sponsor. Anyway, moving on. But as we said, he should have learnt from what Laura did earlier in the week. Now, this was interesting.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
Have a look at this. What does this look like? I've just folded my furry blanket.
Oh, God.
To look like a specific
So anyway, we had
the furry wall, Chris.
We had the salt baked turnip.
Sorry, this isn't good podcast.
No, it's horrible podcasting.
Reckon I should take a picture?
So salt based turnip.
Take a picture
with truffle puree and caviar. Interestingly enough, they said that she managed to hide the flavour of caviar with turnip.
Can you just press that button? I can't do it while I'm holding it. Thank you.
For God's sake.
There we go.
Anyway,
it's very large clitoris.
Secondly, then we had the wattle seed duck. I like the wattle seed duck by Callum, actually. I thought that was really pretty.
That sounded delicious.
Then we had the barbecued bonito from Reynold.
The redemption dish. The redemption fish. Back from the dead.
I personally...
The cheeses of fish.
Look, I personally would have picked Callum's. They did say all three of them were good. Mm-hmm. I personally would have picked Callum's. You could sort of see it was going to be Reynold, and it was Reynold.
If only Callum had something to redeem.
Yeah, exactly. That would have helped.
Is that what was needed? Is to just set the stakes lower? Like the bar higher, sorry? Did you have to go...
Set the stakes lower. Well, I don't give a shit what happens. Fucking send me home.
But
I don't care.
Do you have to go okay. You know when
I can't see the tracks anymore, people. I can't see the tracks.
Look, maybe in my earlier years I might have
dropped a lot of acid?
Actually, I didn't. I know some people who did, but not me. But, if you've been asked to do something for someone and you kind of want them to owe you a favour, if you make it out to be kind of harder than it is, then it seems to be a bigger favour they owe you. Is that what's going on here? Like, Reynold is like, I can't cook a fish to save my life. If I cook a fish tonight, this isn't the Paralympics. We're not giving, we're not giving people a handicap just because, this isn't, you're not born with a disability of not being able to cook fish, is what I'm saying. You either can cook fish or you can't in this competition.
Reynolds had a few run-ins with fish. Anyway, so...
Not as many run-ins that fish have had with Simon, though. So.
No one's had that many run-ins. Before we finish off the episode, it's coming, I promise you, it's coming, I promise you all. I put out a poll, and I have to talk about it because in 1 hour I had 104 votes. The worst commercial this series. Now, The Secret She Keeps, How to Stay Married, or Bachelor in Paradise.
Oh, there's been some doozies, and Christ almighty.
Everyone seems to have forgotten just how bad The Secret She Keeps was in terms of ads. It got 26% of the vote. How to Stay Married got 23.1. I'm assuming...
Lady Edith from Downton Abbey, I don't think she's going to get another gig ever.
I'm assuming, by the way, that the reason why How to Stay Married only got 23.1% was that nobody remembers that that's what the name of the show is and not My Shit Husband.
You should have put My Shit Husband there. That's what everyone knew it was.
However, Bachelor in Paradise with 51% of the vote.
Can I just point out, though, the 3 worst ads... all Channel 10 shows.
Well, I only put those up there because everyone wanted me to put the Denizen commercial up.
Denizen?
Yeah, but it's not that one. Remember, it's the one which is the weird psycho trip, which is it's really trippy. It's like someone took far too much Denizen.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not memorable, whereas...
And I didn't bother to put the best ad up because we all know the answer is menu log. So... we moved through and we got into the second part of the cook. The second part of the cook was that you needed to cook with the other pantry. And they all chose the fancy pantry.
Yeah.
So they all had to go with the normal pantry. And by all, I mean Callum and Laura. Because Reynold goes through to semi-final with Emelia.
Great.
They turned the benches so that Callum and Laura faced off.
And it was really pushing that narrative of friend against friend, mate against mate, same state against same state.
And as someone pointed out on Twitter, it would have been nice for the producers because, if you know the fact that they've been friends for forever and they get along brilliantly, all the stuff that people were being really snarky about Laura about earlier in the year, where she was making little comments back and forward with Callum. Suddenly it makes a lot more sense to people when they see this and go, oh, they're really close friends and they've been hanging out all the time. Oh, so all those jokes were actually jokes and they get along. And I'm like, well, fucking duh. But for a lot of the audience who may not have watched all of this and don't know all of this, a lot of people I think probably would have reacted a little bit differently had they built the fact that they're really close.
Yeah.
And they didn't bother to build that up until the night they send one of them home.
I do think it was quite cute, though, when Laura's gone, I grew up watching Masterchef and I fangirled over Callum. It'd be like me in the same room as, trying to do, my job with bloody, Kate Winslet there. I don't know how I'd cope.
No. It'd be like you trying to talk to Elena Duggan. I mean...
I can do that now.
We've worked on that.
I've overcome that. Now?
We've built that up.
Yes.
So, the Ordinary Pantry, again, and degustation destination with the win here. The Ordinary Pantry has snapper. Let that sink in. Not awful. Not secondary cuts. Snapper.
They're really slumming
it here. And a few people...
It's something that they're giving to all the people who are stuck in those 9 blocks down in Melbourne.
And a few people...
Maybe it is Melbourne slumming it. We don't know. They're all fancy down in that city.
Maybe.
Unlike Miscellaneous City.
And a few people... pointed this out. Anne Gripton in particular had a conversation with me this week about this. Why did they not let Callum talk up the fact that he won All-Stars?
Yes,
they kept talking about him coming second to Adam Lior. Now, again, I understand it was 12 people. It was in teams of 3. They didn't break the teams up until the 7th episode. There were only 19 episodes in total, and it was raising money for charity. But it was still an All-Stars competition, and he still won the damn thing.
Yeah.
Now, this led to last night a forensic examination of the trophy. This led to asking somebody who's held the trophy.
Is Callum on there?
Is Callum on there?
No.
No, he got a Masterchef logo on a plinth.
What would you prefer? Name on a trophy or a plinth?
Plinth, definitely. You got to keep the plinth.
I know, you can put the plinth in your garden, you can pop it, you can hold open a door. Like
it's not like, look, the big tray, even if you get your own version of it, the big tray is not like the bake-off cake, cake platter.
No.
You're going to use the bake-off cake platter.
Yeah.
I think that they really should have played up the All-Stars thing a little bit more too. They didn't do it, and I feel bad for poor Callum. So we obviously then got Laura made her strawberries and cream, and Callum obviously then presented his, and they were worried about the secondary flavours, and he got those perfectly. But sous vide's got a bad track record this series.
It does. It's not producing what it usually does.
The problem was you could clearly see when Callum took the fish out, you could see that the fish was way
mushy.
Done. It was way done.
And the judges were all saying things like, Callum usually gets his protein right and his flavours off. And tonight...
Everyone knew.
'Twas the opposite.
Everyone knew. So unfortunately we lose Callum, who is a wonderful, wonderful person. And did you know...
He's got nothing to fall back on, though.
I've heard a whisper.
What?
Cooking school.
What?
I know.
He's got a cooking school?
Apparently so.
Well, that's good. I'm glad he's got something to fall back on.
Good for him.
I'm glad to hear he's got something to, support his wife and newborn baby.
So that leaves us with 3.
We are down to 3.
We are down to 3 and we are down to 2 episodes.
Yes.
Now, 3 into 2 episodes doesn't go.
No.
A couple of people are going to have to leave.
Well,
I wonder if whoever wins is stuck in the Masterchef kitchen. Their lockdown is the Masterchef kitchen.
Yeah. You are locked down here for eternity.
Yes.
They joined the ninjas, Trent and Tracy. Oh my gosh, this is the cool thing we're going to see next week. Oh.
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe we can't because of lockdown.
Only Trents.
Only Trents or only Masterchef people that live in Melbourne.
We'll see.
They didn't lock down the state there, so...
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the grand final.
Because they usually bring people back
for
questions.
So we had some questions, and I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One question we got tonight was, what changes would you like to see them make to the grand final, given the way things are going?
It's a knockout style. I just want to see big frog costumes leaping across lily pads.
We've done It's a knockout. We did the stadium thing, remember?
Okay, all right.
Look, I'd like to see them do a longer cook.
Oh, yeah, 24 hours.
Again,
survival. You've got to out and kill your food.
Rather than
post-apocalyptic cooking, where it's like Fallout 4 and they have to go and get like canned goods and like mutated meat and create something
rather than the normal staggered. And I know why they do the normal staggered, because it's the 3 service challenges, which gives them 3 different lots of scoring, which builds up drama.
Yeah.
I would like to see them do a one longer cook for everything. I think it can be really complicated, and there the scoring can be done on a number of different levels, and then that gives you your 50 points, and you can do it that way.
Yeah.
I like that idea. They won't. They'll do a 3 staggered challenge.
Yeah, it will, because they like the build up.
Build up for the drama. And look, they've had a lot of other things they've had to change, not necessarily because they wanted to. I feel like that's fair enough that they can keep that one there. Any other questions tonight? Leah asked why Andy and Jock have fallen into the George
blind
and Gary
tasting.
roles.
We'll
come to that.
Okay.
We'll come to that.
A blind tasting for the...
Because I want to mention that last, because I want to talk more about blind tasting.
Okay, yeah.
Why have Andy and Jock fallen into the George and Gary roles? Mainly Andy.
Oh, it is...
I think we talked about the idea about Andy would be the one most likely to default to MasterChef 101 because of his background. I think, again, probably stress of lockdown, circumstance. They all did it tonight with 30 seconds left, which we never need to hear again.
No.
Joe Mack asked, did Laura have an advantage in that cook by having her back to the gantry? It's easy to ignore people watching your every move. No, because they're hanging over your shoulder being pains and you can't see them to tell them to shut up.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of the major ones, I think, sort of tonight. Kim Spicer asked us, what other celebrities would you like to see do a Menulog commercial?
Ooh.
He said Weird Al Yankovic seemed like a natural
That would
fit,
be
given a
great.
multitude of songs about food.
Yep.
That would be really good. I'd love to see that.
Who else is kind of bougie and out there? Lizzo. I see
A
Lizzo.
Lizzo Menulog ad would be cool.
Yeah, that would
great.
be awesome. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an
David
actor.
Lee Roth.
Yeah. What's his name? The one John Voight.
Oh, God. Can you imagine being the Menulog guy delivering to John Voight? John Voight and Christopher Walken.
Yes! Yes!
In the same house.
Yes!
That's not my meal. You need to take this back. It's not mine.
My meal.
The last thing we want to talk about is the idea
Like
of...
the Fat Boy Slim video clip, except he's going around grabbing food.
Food. That'd be good. The last thing I want to talk about quickly is blind judging. We've talked a lot about blind judging over the years. I feel like, especially in the last 2 weeks, they need to do a lot more of it.
Yeah.
I'd like, as you said, I'd like the grand final to be blind judged. Won't be.
No.
I'd like it to be.
But you could do, like we said, we could do the whole similar to Chef's Line kind of thing. We could do
One judging, two out, two judging, one out, whatever you wanted to do. Bring in someone else.
Exactly.
Bring someone else in to do it, and then do it that way. I just feel like it opens them up. All the favouritism stuff, which again, most of it's a load of nonsense.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can get rid of a lot of the favouritism stuff if you blind judged all of it. That's just personal opinion, though. And on that, we're going to leave you there for this week. Now, we will be back next week with the grand final.
Oh, yes, we'll know who wins by this time.
And hopefully with a few other bits and pieces during the week. So we've got a lot planned. We can't say too much, but we have a lot planned. We may speak to you before that. If we don't speak to you before that, we'll definitely speak to you after the grand final. Until then, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all later.
Woof.